It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of November 21st, 2001, Thanksgiving weekend. And we've got 6 movies here, so we have a lot of films to get to, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. That's Brad Pitt and Robert Redford in the action thriller Spy Game.
Where did you learn to shoot? Boy Scouts, sir.
2 men in a game.
Central Intelligence. You've been working for me, mostly undercover.
Where all they have...
God, you're hideous. Why do you even bother? Missed you, too.
...is each other.
Tom Bishop been arrested for espionage.
I'm getting him out. From the director of Crimson Tide and Enemy of the State.
They know. They don't know. They'll be waiting.
Spy Game.
Where are you? I'm coming home.
Rated R. At theaters November 21st.
So in the movie Spy Game, you have Robert Redford playing a CIA operative on the brink of retirement when he finds out that his protege, played by Brad Pitt, has been arrested in China for espionage. No strangers to the machinations of the CIA's top echelon, Muir hones in all of his skills in a reverent manner in order to find a way to free Bishop. As he embarks on his mission to free Bishop, Muir recalls how he recruited and trained the young rookie. At the time as sergeant in Vietnam, their turbulent times together as operatives as the woman threatens their friendship. It's funny because there was another movie that came out the week after this, Behind Enemy Lines, which kind of has a similar plot to it with Gene Hackman and Owen Wilson. But this one here, directed by Tony Scott, who gave us Enemy of the State, Crimson Tide, Top Gun. A pretty solid action director overall. This movie in particular, it's a decent movie. It works mostly because of Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. You see these 2 legendary actors working together in a movie, and it shows off in various ways in this particular film. The one thing against the movie that I will say is that the spy aspect here, the thriller aspect here, is not really as good as it should be. I mean, you have Tony Scott directing this, who's a great action director, and a script that's not really all that well put together. This writer, the writer of this is Michael Frost Beckner, and David Arado actually wrote Children of Men that came out a couple years later, as well as some other notable films like Broke Down Palace, and he actually wrote what else did he write? I thought I saw something here. Maybe not. Maybe it's just those notable films. I never heard of this movie, The Angel, that he wrote for Netflix, but I mean, he did write Children of Men, and that's a great movie overall, but I don't know. I think the spy aspect overall in the movie is very mediocre. There's not really a whole lot there to get. There's not a big like twist or turn that you don't see coming a mile away. But I think the movie does get by the action overall and the characters of Robert Redford and Brad Pitt that they play, because it's 2 great actors like Robert Redford and Brad Pitt working off each other. I think that's more than enough to carry the film just a little bit over the edge, but it's definitely not one of the better spy films out there. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but you definitely feel like it could have been a whole lot better with the talent that they had involved in this. So, fine for what it is, but not one I'm going to watch and repeat several times. That's Spy Game. So, let's go ahead and move on to our next film, which is Martin Lawrence in the comedy Black Knight.
Positively medieval.
It is the year 1928.
It's 9th century.
What is that, man?
Food
It's roadkill.
is not his fight.
So you'll help with the
Oh
rebellion.
no, I got to get out of here.
How is it a big ball?
With Martin Lawrence, he's going to live. The nightlife. Let's taste cold steel. Black Knight. Rated PG-13. Do you mock me? Do you love me? November 21st.
Just take a kid in King Arthur's court and replace the kid with a black guy, and that black guy is Martin Lawrence. It's literally that. Lawrence plays a theme park employee who's transported through time to medieval England. And it's pretty much just a kid in King Arthur's court, except with a more adult edge to it, and not quite as memorable as a kid in King Arthur's court, which wasn't that memorable to begin with, but at least in that movie there were more memorable moments to it. I mean, there were more things about it that I can look back on and say, okay, it was cheesy and corny, but there's some fun aspects to that film. This, on the other hand, just feels like a film that was just a bad idea from the get-go and kind of killed the directing career of the director of this, who did 10 Things I Hate About You, and this was the last thing he directed that went to theaters, because he went straight to DVD, straight to home TV. Like, his career died hard after this movie came out. I mean, this was not a good movie per se. It's pretty bad. I mean, the jokes, you pretty much can tell what they're going to do. You can pretty much tell where it's going to go. The writing isn't really that sharp. It doesn't help that the writers of this, for the most part, are all white, if I'm not mistaken. Peter Galkey, Daryl J. Quarles, Jerry Swallow. If I remember correctly, I think they're all white, and they're trying to write a movie where it's Martin Lawrence is the main focus of the film, and I don't think it really worked out to their advantage here, especially in this film. it's just a mess on so many levels. It's a film that's pretty bad right off the bat. Not much more I can say about it, man. It's just a forgettable movie, man. It's not even that it's a bad film. It's just so bland and so forgettable, and it's just kind of like, what was the point of this altogether? Like, who was this made for, and why were we on this medieval hike in 2001? I guess everyone thought that stuff like Gladiator was going to lead into like more period piece medieval type of things because we had A Knight's Tale earlier in the year, and then we had this movie. But yeah, Black Knight's not that great of a film overall. But here is a funny comedy that came out on the same weekend that you probably have never even heard of. It's actually much better than you give it credit for. It's called Out Cold.
A place where the thrill is all that matters. Rick Rambis and his friends are the best of the best. They know what they want. I know that I'm in love with her. So, still want to hook up?
You're gonna try a lot harder than that, Rick.
So, still want to hook up? On November 21st, the competition is on. Out Cold. He's passed out. Gonna need 10 pounds of salt.
So Out Cold takes place in Bull Mountain, Alaska. It's a no-frills ski resort, and the staff is a bunch of partying snowboard bums. The late founder, Papa Muntz, who was famed for skiing with his butt exposed, and is in fact so memorialized by a statue, but his son Ted plans to sell the resort to a hotshot ski mogul played by John Majors, who starts turning it into a slick hotel, which of course has no room for most of the staff. The exception is Rick, the most serious of the bunch, but there's a complication. Rick meets Major's stepdaughter Anna on vacation in Mexico, and he's never gotten over a crush he had on her, even though she's about to marry a great guy, and Rick is also fiercely loyal to his friends. So the plot there, you can pretty much tell, is pretty much Casablanca. It's a modern version of Casablanca, mixed with a little bit of a Caddyshack in there, too, and you see some notable names in the film. Jason London, Willie Garson, Lee Majors as John Majors, A.J. Cook, Zach Galifianakis, David Koechner, David Denham, Caroline DeVernis, Thomas Lenz also in the film as well. It's a movie that should be bad from the get-go. I mean, the trailers made it look bad, but it's one of those ones that really is surprisingly very good. Like, the fact that they were able to make a number of references to Casablanca and actually have a plot that makes it work as well as it does here, it's surprisingly really good. Like, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed this one. This is one that's actually a lot funnier than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It's a gross-out comedy. It's not a very good PG-13 gross-out comedy, but when it's not doing the gross-out stuff, the comedy that is in here is actually really good. And you do like the chemistry between all the characters in the movie. All the characters in here are well acted. The writing overall is really well done. You can tell that they took a lot of references to Casablanca, and they have a love for that film. And that's one of my favorite films of all time. And it works actually a lot better than I think people give it credit for. I think it is a very underrated gem. It's a really funny movie. If you haven't seen Out Cold, go into it with a little bit of optimism. It's actually a lot better than you would probably give it credit for. I mean, it's a really funny movie. It's one that I definitely say check it out because you might be missing a great little gem right here. So that's Out Cold. Let's go ahead and move on to our next film, which is Edward Burns' latest film, Sidewalks of New York.
Yourself up.
Are you flirting with me?
I was hoping it was kind of obvious, but I guess I'm not doing that good a job.
And getting on with the business of life.
If you divorce this guy, you call me that day, and I'll jump on a plane no matter where I am in the country. I'll fly back here. I'll take you out that night.
Sidewalks of New York.
So Sidewalks of New York follows 8 cycles in the life of 6 Manhattan residents whose interconnections form a circle that places each of them less than the proverbial 6 degrees of separation from the other. And you have Edward Burns, Rosario Dawson, Dennis Farina, Heather Graham, Brittany Murphy, and Stanley Tucci among the cast in the movie here. Edward Burns has made a couple of really good movies in his early career, but this is definitely one of those ones that's not quite as good as I think it should be. In fact, he kind of went on a downward spiral after this because he didn't really make anything too great again until he made the switch over to television. And I think he's been having much better work on television overall. But it's a film that I think definitely could have been a whole lot better considering the cast that he has involved in this film. It's a great cast overall. I mean, Edward Burns, Dawson, Krumholtz, Brittany Murphy, Stanley Tucci, Heather Graham, Dennis Farina. It wants to be kind of like a modern Woody Allen film mixed in with a little bit of Sex and the City. You can get the vibes from that because of the appreciation for New York City. But Woody Allen definitely has a master craftsman for making New York City an integral part of his storylines. Sex and the City in the early years of the TV series did that as well. Not the movies though, but I don't know. Edward Burns, good director overall, but this was kind of the film that I think a lot of people were starting to get tired of his shtick, and I don't think he never really got out of it as a filmmaker. I don't think he's ever made another movie that was as good as something like The Brothers McMullen or She's the One. But it's not a bad movie per se. It's just not one that's memorable altogether. It's a film that's just kind of like, whatever. It's like there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or anything, despite some decent performances all around. Definitely feels like a film that could have been so much better than it actually is, but let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is In the Bedroom.
An older woman, her ex-husband.
Where are they with him?
None of your business.
They're my boys, but they're none of my business.
The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Los Angeles film critics all say it's the best film of the year. And now it's nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Picture of the Year. The secrets are about to be revealed in the bedroom.
I know what you think, but I let him get away with everything!
Rated R, now in theaters everywhere.
So In the Bedroom stars Sissy Spacek, Tom Wilkinson, Nick Stahl, Marissa Tomei, and it centers on the inner dynamics of a family in transition. Wilkinson plays a doctor practicing in Maine and is married to Sissy Spacek, a music teacher. Their son is involved with a love affair with an older single mother, played by Marissa Tomei. At the beauty of Maine's brief and fleeting summer comes to an end, the characters find themselves in the midst of an unimaginable tragedy, and it's one of those movies that feels like an Oscar bait type of film, and definitely shows. I mean, this film did get several nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay, but it's a film that I don't think really a lot of people remember overall. Todd Field has made a couple of other films since then, Little Children and Tar, which I think are much better movies overall. But as far as this film goes, from the little bits I've seen from it, it doesn't look that bad, but it doesn't look that great either. I mean, the performances I think from what I've seen carried the load, so maybe that's the thing that carries the film over the edge for most people. But to me, from the little bits I've seen from it, not really something I really want to go back and check out anytime soon. Despite the good talent involved there, it just doesn't feel like anything more than just an Oscar bait movie. But with that said, that's In the Bedroom. Now let's move on to the last film we have here, and that is Guillermo del Toro's The Devil's Backbone. So this is a story that takes place in the final year of the Spanish Civil War, following a boy who's left in an orphanage operated by Republican loyalists and haunted by the ghost of a recently deceased boy. You see a little bit from the trailer there. This film gets pretty intense. I mean, for the most part, the movie gets really, really intense on a number of different levels. And this is where Guillermo del Toro really shines as a director. He did this with Kronos, and he would later do it again with Pan's Labyrinth, which is part of the big Criterion collection that this movie is in. It's a really good movie, man. It's a really intense film. Really delivers on a lot of good visual fear. Like, the horror aspects of the film is very good. The tension is very solid. You fear for this kid's life throughout the course of the movie. And it's an interesting little political allegory, too, surprisingly. And it's a subtle one, too, which is really something to say. But, yeah, it's a really good movie. I mean, this is definitely, if you love Guillermo del Toro, you're going to eat this up pretty quickly. It's definitely worth a watch. The Devil's Backbone. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap November up on the next episode with Behind Enemy Lines with Gene Hackman and Owen Wilson, and also Texas Rangers. So we'll look at those movies next time. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.